All right, today we are talking about sending our teaming partners, our would-be subcontractors, out to the site visits, right, on behalf of our company to represent our company as our team for those contracts that you're going after, particularly on SAM.gov. So site visits, subcontractors, and how can we best send those out? And we're breaking it down today essentially in a checklist, but more importantly, you see me holding my book, Legal Middleman Method, and I don't think I've ever done a video like this, but we're continuing to switch things up on our daily doses here of government contract trainings for you all at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. And I'm going to be reading from a chapter of the book, and this chapter is called Subcontractor Site Visit Checklist. So you're clicking on this video, that's exactly what you're looking for, and that's exactly what you're going to get. Starts out, and I'm just going to pretty much read it. So if you do have the book at home, we're going to be reading essentially from the beginning of the chapter. So feel free to follow along. If you don't have the book and after hearing this, something you're interested in getting, you can always get it easily from my website, govkidmethod.com/book. I'll also have a link down for that down below. But now let's talk about site visit preparation. The first thing that you want to do is prepare the subcontractors for the site visit. Doing so will put them in a position to get the most out of it and potentially give your team a competitive edge. Here are some items to follow for preparing for the site visit. Number one, print a copy of the statement of work and any necessary drawings, photos, or specifications to bring with you or for them to bring with them. You would be surprised at how many companies show up to the site visit without this information or this paperwork printed. Sometimes it's even the government point of contact who leads the site visit. They're the one who is actually under-prepared, so they essentially forgot to bring it. Having this with you ensures that you have it at the site for not only your own reference, but you may also become the go-to person at the site visit should a second look be needed, and you're the only one with it printed out and, again, in hand. Number two, make sure you have base access and background check information submitted if required. It's very frustrating trying to bring individuals onto a base or a government site who are not on the approved list. It's a waste of everybody's time and may even blow your chances of seeing the site or your teaming partner's chances. Always make sure credentials are not required to enter the base, and if they are, provide them ahead of time. We don't do edits here, guys. Number three, sign in to the sign-in sheet for our company in case the site visit is mandatory for us to bid. Now, this is really important. The subcontractor potential teaming partners shall sign in on behalf of the prime contractor they are teaming with if the prime contractor cannot be present. This is because some site visits are mandatory, and since the prime contractor is the one who will be submitting the bid directly to the government, you don't want your prime sub team to be excluded from bidding on the contract because you technically did not attend. Number four, bring informed questions. So just like in high school, it's great and it's always great to ask informed questions during the site visit. It can set you apart from the crowd, but more importantly, is that when you prepare questions, ahead of time, you're much more likely to ask better questions and get better answers instead of waiting to think up questions on the spot. Pardon my allergies. Start thinking about how you would approach the work and see if any approach type questions surface. And I'll add to this. It's not just about the questions, and great questions can be great questions, right? There's going to be an opportunity for RFIs after the site visit. But bringing informed questions also just gives you additional opportunity to kind of show your preparedness, show how informed you are and how much you actually understand the scope of work and your teaming partners. So asking the questions is a way to kind of show off without revealing too much. Next, pay attention during the site visit as well. Pay attention to the following items that I list here during the site visit. Number 1, how many other companies are on the sign-in sheet? You got to pay attention, be careful. Gaining this information can give you a somewhat informed idea of how much competition there will be and maybe even who it will be, especially if it's a required site visit. As the prime, you can use this information to search fpds.gov, for example, awards, to see what other contracts your potential competitors have won by searching by their name. Number 2, who from the government is in attendance, names and positions. This can begin to unveil the players on the government side for this job. The person who conducts the site visit could also be the person, for example, who will be the core, the contracting officer's representative once the award is issued. In that case, it's a good person to be knowledgeable of and to begin trying to build an early relationship with at the site. Now, we're talking about your teaming partners, right? Would-be subcontractors, okay? And these are the checklists. The relationship shall be retained between you, the prime, and the core, for example. So if you are attending the site visit, it's different than if you are just sending your teaming partners, right? You don't want your teaming partners getting overly close to a government point of contact because all that communication flow should be coming through you. Just want to clarify. The site visit, like, it's fine because they're in attendance, but long term, you want to ensure the hierarchy of communication. Number 3, is there any mention of an incumbent or existing contractor? An incumbent contract is a company that is already doing the work and their contract is potentially coming to an end or has recently ended. If there is an incumbent, it is likely, highly likely, that their company name will be talked about or brought up by a government POC or a competitor. But even if they don't, it is a good question to ask. If you don't find out who the incumbent is, you can also look at the old contract to see what the contract value is, at the very least to help you ballpark the upcoming bid. If you do this, though, you will also want to try to find out if there have been any scope changes. Of course, when you're looking at old contracts or even incumbents, they could add to or reduce the scope of work. So it's not always apples to apples. It's not just about looking at the old price and, okay, we'll underbid it. It's not always that simple. So you'll want to find if there's been scope changes because you can't always compare an old project to a new project entirely apples to apples. Man, it's almost like I wrote this. Number 4, do they mention anything about existing problems, ongoing challenges? This can make a significant impact on your approach to the bid and your team's approach. If you can speak to any existing problems they are currently facing or explain your approach to addressing those problems and challenges, this can really go a long way towards creating a compelling offer, especially if it's a bid where the government is awarding on best overall value that the offer presents, not just lowest price. Also, simply demonstrating to the government that you fully understand the problem can make them, as a person with a problem, essentially, the customer, can make them feel heard and help them believe that you are potentially the right contractor for the job. And that's, again, communicated through your proposals, even more so in best value proposals. Now, post-site visit questions. Number 1, submit your questions to us, meaning if you're speaking to your teaming partner, you would be the prime. Submit your questions to us after the site visit so we can have contracting answer your questions. A few minutes ago, I said you'll have an opportunity to formally submit questions, but you're still asking questions at the site visit. And if they tell you to put those in writing, be like, yeah, I will. but, just curious while we're here. What do you think? They may or may not answer. All questions must be submitted in writing from the prime contractor to the contracting officer. The sub, the teaming partner, they are not sending questions direct. And this is why you are educating and informing your teaming partners, again, on that hierarchy flow of communication. And that will be due before the Q&A due date. Typically, the sooner questions get submitted, the sooner they get answered and allow you to proceed with formulating your bid. So really important to, again, train your teaming partners not to wait to the last minute to give you the questions that they need to properly price and maybe even work on elements of the proposal with you. So they got to do that ASAP, within the next 12 to 24 hours of getting back from the site visit, maybe same day, right? Number 2, you're asking them, the teaming partner, is there anything missing from the job or the way that it's been teed up that will prevent you from accurately quoting it? You have to be really careful with your time once the site visit is over. This is really important because you're now at the stage of investing more time and resources. If there's anything new that you learned from the site visit that is making the job no longer attractive to bid, for example, this is something that needs to be communicated with us to determine if this can be a workable solution or can there be a workable solution with the contracting officer. We can submit RFIs, or in essence, is this just a dead deal now and we can go no deal and move on to something else? Number 3, does this have signs of being a nightmare job that or where it would be best to just move on from it? You really want to figure this out like right now at this stage. After the site visit, ask yourself, are there any signs of this project being or becoming a nightmare project? Similar to the previous point, now is the time to fully commit, to either fully commit to the project or to reevaluate if there is any causes for concern. Perhaps the project has safety issues that accompany it. Maybe what contracting is asking for is actually unreasonable and unattainable the way that it's being presented. These are things to get out in the open right now before any further time is invested. Number 4, is there enough time now that we know everything, if we're still moving forward, is there enough time to quote this job? Simply put, after attending the site visit, is everything still on track to be able to quote by the due date, or has something new been discovered where extra time is going to be needed? If extra time is needed, communicate with us and we can request an extension of the due date for the various reasons, perhaps resulting from the site visit. For next steps, you are informing them. For next steps, we will watch for answers to questions to be posted and of course share that information with you once we receive it. Please begin working on the areas of the quote that you can get started on, right? If they have something holding them back, but don't stop on everything unless you are waiting on answers to questions to begin that you essentially cannot move forward with. So it may depend. And then we can discuss more. If additional questions come up, it's important to let us know ASAP so that we can also have those submitted, again, before the Q&A deadline is over. Now, I have a little bit more that should I not? Because honestly, reading this was a lot faster than I thought, so I'm thinking maybe I could read a little bit more. I've got some before and some after. I mean, it's just a few pages of the book. The book is, you can devour this book in a day or two for sure, but it'll take you a little bit of time to get through. It's not the lightest of reading, but we have amazing reviews. We'll say this, rule of 2. We'll go to the rule of 2. A quick word to the wise with the rule of 2, specifically when it comes to subs quoting work for you. least we'll keep it on track with the topic for today. Make sure you get at least 2 sub quotes, okay? This ensures quote accuracy through comparison, meaning if you get 1 quote, you have no way of gauging if it's high, low, or exact because you have nothing else to compare it to. And actually, as a tip, when I wrote this, ChatGPT was not out. So we do have ChatGPT to compare it to. It's ChatGPT 5. So we have ChatGPT 5 to compare your quotes to, besides just other quotes. If you're an expert in a particular field, that would be one of the rare occasions where you could. Like, that would absolutely be possible. But in all the other instances where you're doing a legal middleman scenario, you're probably not going to be an expert in a particular field that you're bidding. So you want to get at least 2 quotes. Now, you're not going to know what it should actually cost. So you're going to be reliant on your teaming partner, would-be subcontractor. For that reason, you need to get multiple quotes. And when I say multiple quotes, at least 2. And that's why we have the rule of 2. This also ensures a backup. If one of your other subs backs out when the contract is awarded, which may not be great, but it's better than having nothing, then you have someone to backfill them with. And you also know what their pricing looks like. It's really bad if you quote, time goes by, the sub is no longer capable, maybe they go out of business, hopefully not, but maybe they just commit to doing other work, right? And they don't have the bandwidth, the capabilities to support you for the award. Well, now you're going to have to find another teaming partner. And they're going to come at a different price. More than likely. There'll be more. Maybe you'll get lucky and find somebody for less. But because it's unknown, it's an inherent risk. That's a big part of what the Rule 2 is talking about, reducing your risk. As I said, you do not want to separate, you do not want to be desperate to bid on a job with only 1 quote just because you're so excited you found it on SAM. It's perfect, it would be great. Because you could actually end up winning the job and then having no way to fulfill it if somebody backs out, if your one and only backs out. But if you do have to go the backup sub, that backup sub is possibly, like I said, going to be higher than what you budgeted for from the first. And that can be at a risk, right? If you're having to find somebody last minute. Now, where do you think that difference is going to come from if you have to back up your sub and that's a little bit higher than what you quoted the government? That differential is going to come out of your margins. It's going to come out of your profit. It could turn a profitable contract into a break-even contract or even into a not profitable contract. Maybe you lose money on the job. This is really, really important to understand. And unfortunately, I've seen this happen far too many times when someone just feels really comfortable with the sub and then they get burnt. Next, the sub must quote exactly the way the government is requesting that the pricing be presented. Do not accept an all-in number from a company that's quoting this for you if the government is requesting a pricing breakdown, for instance. If you try to break it down yourself, you're going to put yourself at risk. They must break it down the way that the government is asking exactly. Don't just accept one number from a sub and then divide it into whatever you think makes sense, over CLINs, option years, whatever, because if something ends up happening with these pricing CLINs and they change over time, you could find yourself in a very unprofitable situation potentially. For example, what if the government extends the pricing CLIN where you weren't making much money on a particular CLIN option and they extended it? But it was okay when you priced it because you were making up the money on the other very profitable pricing CLIN options. You could actually get burned here because what if the government ends up needing more of one thing and less of another? You could end up going from being very profitable to unprofitable. So if a sub gives you an all-in number when the government's asking for a breakdown, you could say, thank you for giving me this, but I need you to break this down because it's going to live throughout the life of the contract and situations can arise where we need the breakdown too. And lastly, do not let the sub sweet talk you. Actions speak louder than words. And boy, oh boy, is that no truer Then when it comes to government contracting, actions speak way louder than words. If the sub is saying all the right things to you, but they're not providing you with what you've specifically asked for in a quote, this is a warning sign. You need to communicate with them. You need to re-engage with them and figure out what's actually going on. You can say, thank you, however, I need this. Now, if they keep putting you off, but are saying all the right things like, we're going to give you the best price, or we do this all the time, and it's not followed up with action, it is a cause for concern. And before too many of these happen, you'll want to move on from them. And if they are the only sub that you have, for example, and you can't reach the rule of 2, then this becomes a no deal because you cannot rely on them. You need to have multiple quotes, especially when you're working with subs that are exhibiting some form of warning signs or red flags. And we did a recent video on red flags when calling subs, right? Just last week. In summary, we would rather have no business over bad business. This is a short lesson, but it's important. I always tell everyone, if you come to me and say, Derek, I won, I'm most likely not going to be excited yet. I will get excited after the wheels are in motion, because when you win, this is the kind of oh crap moment where everything is tested and we need to make sure everything is good to go. The subs are good, the wheels are in motion to get this thing going. Then after that, we can celebrate. That's why all the things have to be in place first. Otherwise, something that should be really good could quickly end up being something really bad and really scary. So covered a lot there. Do you have the book? A lot of you guys have the book. Let me know down below. What did you think of that? Maybe you don't have the book. Again, you can get it if you don't, govkidmethod.com/book. I ship them all out myself, sign them all myself. You can get a signed copy by ordering that way. I don't use a shipper or anything like that. I like to do quality control myself. So keep this in mind, because I know so many of you are legal middlemaning. The hardest part for many of you is picking up the phone to call the subs. Either because you're afraid to pick up the phone because you feel like an imposter, or you don't, but you get them on the phone and you don't know exactly what to say, and that gets converted and translated over the phone, and then that scares them off. Okay, so this is a lot of practice here. There's a lot to be said about proposal writing. There's a lot to be said about pricing. There's a lot to be said about regulations, but there's equal amount to be said about working with teaming partners. And a big part of it is those site visits. Site visits are crucial. They can really, change your pricing a lot. They can change your proposal. They can change your approach so much. And I've talked about it in other videos, but staying in that power position with your teaming partners, a big part of that is educating them. You are the prime contractor. You have a lot that you are responsible for that you have to bring to the table. And this is, even though you don't have the contract yet, this is a big part of managing your team right before you even have the contract. And it's really just the start of things to come. So this is, numerous checklists, I would say, a number of things to pay attention to. And these are all lessons that I've learned from going on so many site visits myself. It's frustrating when a teaming partner goes to a site visit and they come back and they don't have the right information. They didn't ask questions. They didn't take notes. They didn't come prepared with statements of work. Maybe they're late. Maybe they sent the different people. They changed the people on you last minute, and then they couldn't get access to the site or to the base. Very frustrating. So I'm sharing this with you. I've created this to help you avoid a lot of those pitfalls and a lot of those frustrations, so you can reduce your learning curve and really get to, doing what matters quicker. And a lot of it is building your reputation with the government. And would you rather start acting like a seasoned veteran government contractor from the start, or would you rather, kind of have a lot of bad first impressions to learn this stuff? It really, really is important. And I know some of it can feel common sense, but are you actually doing it? Are you actually implementing it? And how much of a leash are you giving and putting in with your teaming partners? Are you kind of letting them run the show? You have to keep them on that short leash. And we talk about that a lot too. So with that being said, guys, if you have the next 30 minutes or so, I do have my training, Win Contracts Fast Without Wasting Time and Money. I highly recommend everybody go through that. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe. Okay, we're trying to get the algorithm back on our side. I'm committed to bringing you the truth here in government contracting that the industry and even other channels on YouTube University won't tell you. So if that's something that you value, you want to add us to your data bank, if you will, to education and training in the federal government contracting space. That's what we're all about on this channel. And I'd certainly love to earn your subscription and to have you part of our community. We're going live again, so there's lots of opportunities to engage. I'm currently doing that on Fridays, right? And like I said, we're doing our daily dose of daily GovCon trainings every morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. And then Fridays, we're doing 1 to 2 hour live sessions, doing SAM bids live. So reviewing bids and kind of chatting along the way with you guys, as we go. So lots of free, lots of very highly educational, and very helpful things that we have here on the channel. If you're not subscribed, you are missing out on all of it. And again, when you join Win Contracts Fast without wasting time and money, you're going to get a 12-month action plan, everything that you should focus on and what you shouldn't focus on over the next 12 months so you can really save time and money. That was the whole purpose of creating that training. And when you do that, you also get added to my email list so that you can find out about my things that I have going on, things that we have coming up. For example, our 90-day bid challenge, where I help you respond to 10 contracts over the next 90 days. We are right in the middle of that, but you can also be the next, or I should say the first to find out when we are opening up that next cohort by being on the email list. We have financing, we have accounting, we have proposal writing. We've got a lot of kind of DIY step-by-step self-study trainings if you want support in any of those areas. In terms of education or actual company support services for you in government contracting, depending on the walk of life that you're at and the stage that your business is at, you can always email us too. And you can reach us at support@govkidmethod.com. So guys, let me know what you thought about story time today, reading from the book. Like I said, I think this is the first time I've ever done this. And you can always get that book, govkidmethod.com/book, and I'll have the links down below. Hope you got something out of this today, guys. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Welcome all you new members that are finding us. And until next time, guys, you got this.